send out the text.
Ed and Ronnie take the stage, bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes, through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true we'll stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Members of Congress, people of Earth, the time for secrecy is over. Watch Ed and Ronnie. Get the truth. The answers you seek are within reach.
Wake up, America. The rooster's been crowing and the sun is already high. It's time to open them ears and open that heart. Start listening to Ed and Ronnie, two fellas with a whole wagon load of sense, and watch their...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. And the show starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. I'm Ed on the left side of your screen. I almost said I'm Ed on the left. That would have made us kind of like Hannity and Combs, but
Right.
I'm not sure anybody in this part of the world is Combs. Well, since he died, I guess nobody would be. But anyway, we're here tonight. We apologize for missing Wednesday. We don't like to do that. We just had some things that were unavoidable, and we are back tonight. It seems like Saturday ends up being the best night most of the time, and so we might just start saying in our introduction, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And then if we can't do Saturday, then maybe we'll, uh, you know, put the word out that way. But welcome, Ronnie.
Welcome to you too. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it seems like forever. We miss the show, and it seems
Right?
like it's forever. Uh,
Yeah.
this is interesting. We've got multiple people watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
That is not a normal thing. So, all of the YouTube people, welcome. We're glad that you're here. X is well represented tonight, which is really weird. I cannot pull my X account up, at least not
Really?
on my laptop. I could pull it up on my phone, but since I'm using my phone as the camera, that doesn't work out too well. So, welcome to you folks from X. If you would like us, follow us, subscribe to us, whatever it is that happens on the platform that you're watching, we would love to have you follow us. I'm a pastor. Ronnie is, what are you, Ronnie?
An animal control officer.
I
Does that work?
I set you up to be funny, and
Yeah.
well, you know,
Senior political analyst. I was the world's okayest vending machine filler. Yeah,
yeah,
I've had
maybe
several
we ought
titles.
to do that again for a little while. Have some titles, and you know, I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit this again. This is actually for Ronnie right here.
Members of Congress, people of Earth, the time for secrecy is over. Watch Ed and Ronnie. Get the truth. The answers you seek are within reach.
I wonder why that didn't play.
The future depends on it.
All right.
Members of Congress, people of Earth, the time for secrecy is over. Watch Ed and Ronnie. Get the truth. The answers you seek are within reach. The future depends on it.
There we go. I've actually got a semi-alien story tonight, as a matter of fact.
Hey. Your mom covered for you. She said he is my son. That's who he is.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I guess if I have to be, even though I don't like leftovers.
She must be a little slower on her because she didn't give me a strange look. She's giving it now, but
She's got it now.
So for those that may not know, when you see Amy in the comment section, that is Ronnie's mama and my wife, more importantly. So, and we're going to go ahead and share the news. We didn't put it out a lot beforehand, but Amy had some issues with her pancreas that worried us all quite a bit, and she had an MRI done Thursday, and everything come back looking good. Still got to figure out why she's lost a considerable amount of weight in a fairly short period of time, but the ugly C word did not pop up on her testing, so we are very, very happy about that. A lot of people were praying, and well, this is one of those nights where who knows which way we should go. You know, we kind of do our own thing. We prep separately. We talk some, and you know, again, the war is still raging over in Iran, but we've got some things going on here on the home front that people better wake up and smell the coffee. You have anything humor-wise before we get into more serious things?
I do not. I don't have any humor at all. All the humor that I saw that I was thinking about saving was actually had filthy language in it, so I scrubbed it. I don't know what the deal was, but my the videos I've come across have been pretty dirty lately. I don't know why. And racist. Like TikTok, it's like really racist lately. I don't know why.
Well, this lady, I follow her. She and your mom follows her. I get uh, things that your mom send me from her as well, and she she kind of thinks like we do. And so let's take a look at something that she had to say, and then we'll have. I know both of us will have something to say.
I have a real simple question. How long do Muslim jihadis get to openly declare war on us and try to kill a whole mess of people before we start taking this very obvious threat seriously? I'm just curious. We had 2 terrorist attacks yesterday alone, including one on a college campus and another at a Jewish temple full of children. I mean, we had an ex-National Guardsman from Sierra Leone who had already been convicted of providing material support to ISIS, who had already told federal investigators he wanted to carry out an attack on U.S. soil and thought Ramadan was a fantastic month to do it in, and yet somehow he was let out of federal prison early, he was allowed to stay in this country, and then yesterday he walked into a classroom at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, and shot Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw to death. And the only reason he didn't kill more people is because a ROTC student managed to take him out with a knife. And then on the very same day, another naturalized citizen with Mohammed in his name, this one from Lebanon, plowed his truck into a Jewish synagogue in Michigan that had a preschool full of children. And thank God nobody else was killed, but he did hit a security guard, and he sent 30 first responders to the hospital with smoke inhalation. We have had 4 separate terrorist attacks in less than 2 weeks. We had one guy in Austin, Texas shoot up a bar and mow down more than a dozen people, and then we had 2 ISIS lovers throwing homemade bombs into a crowd in New York City. And every single one of these people had either come to the United States from a Middle Eastern or North African country, or their parents had. And every one of them was a Muslim. But you won't find that in many media reports because the left says it's not relevant. Except Christians aren't doing this. You never hear of a guy walk into a store and yell in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit before lighting it up. And when was the last time you saw a Jewish person plow their car into a mosque full of Muslim kids? You don't. This is specifically an Islam problem. Nothing else even comes close. So at what point do we get to say that Islamophobia is a natural and normal response to a violent ideology whose followers are actively and openly trying to kill us? And at what point do we stop carting it over from countries that scream death to America and then pretending to be shocked when they try to pull that off?
I think we could have written that script for her.
Yeah.
And, we talk about this fairly often, that there are times where we don't like it when we're right. And you and I have talked about this almost since we started Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie, about sleeper cells and things that can and would go on. One of those not if, but when situations. And as she said, 4 of them, of course, she made that 2 or 3 days ago, because when she said the one day there was 2 attacks, and that was 2 major attacks.
Yeah.
Well, I pulled some things up about that, and I want to share those with you, kind of get a little more detail into what happened in these. March the 1st, a gunman opened fire from an SUV into a crowd outside the bar district. He then got out of the vehicle and continued shooting with an AR-15 style rifle. 3 victims were killed and more than a dozen people were injured before police shot and killed the attacker. The FBI investigated as a possible act of terrorism. Don't you hate, Ronnie, when they say things that a possible act of terrorism? Like you can't put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. The very next line, authorities said the suspect was wearing clothing reading "property of Allah" and had imagery associated with Iran. You can't figure that out on your own. Most of the time there's Mohammed in their name, and a lot of times they scream Allah Akbar, but it's a potential act of terrorism.
I get where they're coming from, because if they say that it's a potential act of terrorism and people then, if they say it or if they confirm it or whatever, that it is an act of terrorism, that's hard to come back from. I know in World War II, when they were saying that about, Asian Americans, that they were terrorists, and a lot of them weren't. They were just here to live and work like everybody else, and it was hard to come back from. But they were already targeted. I hate to say it, but when COVID came out, the whole thing about Trump calling it the China virus, China, or however he said it, that was hard to come back from, and there was a lot of anti-Chinese organizations sparked up after that as well. But I mean, you're right. Wearing a shirt, property of Aloha Snack Bar or whatever, odds are.
and we can be careful with what we say until the point where everybody feels comfortable. And I'm going to tell you, your mom and I were in Greenwood at Greenwood Park Mall, the site of a shooting one time. And there are a lot of people that look like the people we're talking about here, running around all over the place. And us, even though that says on the door, no weapons allowed, we were both carrying, and we both had our heads on a swivel.
Oh yeah. I'd be
and people can think, well, that's pretty racist. You say they look like people on here. You could say, well, you're a rule breaker because you took weapons into some place you're not allowed to take weapons into.
Rule breaker saved lives.
Well, one guy up there did, huh?
Yeah, Elisha Dickens.
Tell that story. Tell that story.
So I don't quite remember how many years ago it was. A gunman went into the bathroom, pulled out a rifle. He came out to the food court. I think he got off a few shots. A gentleman by the name of Elisha Dickens. I used to work with his brother at a couple different places, as a matter of fact. But he was there with his girlfriend, had a firearm on him. Story goes that he had actually laid down a motorcycle and had completely shaved off the sights, but he was able to get 14 out of 16 in the kill zone. Saw this kid come out of the bathroom and open fire and saved hundreds of lives. I mean, so yeah, I mean, good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun, but you're not going to hear that. That was all you did hear was how he was in the Greenwood Park Mall with a gun illegally.
And what was his reward?
He's banned from Greenwood Park Mall for life, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. That's where I was going with that.
He sent him a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. The second one here, March the 7th, New York City. 2 suspects were arrested near the mayor's residence after allegedly bringing improvised explosive devices. March the 12th, West Bloomfield, Michigan. A man rammed a vehicle into a synagogue and opened fire. Security guard was injured before the attacker died during the confrontation. Authorities believe the attack may have been ideologically motivated and connected to anti-Semite extremism. Same day in Norfolk, Virginia, a gunman attacked ROTC training group at Old Dominion University, killing an instructor and injuring cadets. Investigators reviewing the suspect's statements and background to determine whether it qualifies as terrorism or extreme violence. Either way, please, please, please be vigilant. Break that down, being vigilant, Ronnie, into terms that our everyday Joe neighbors and ourselves need to do when we're out in a place like Greenwood Park Mall or just out on the streets in whatever town we live in.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know, unfortunately or fortunately for me, but it's kind of drilled into my brain. I'm always looking for hands. To make, if there's nothing in their hands, and they shouldn't put them in it. I mean, people are going to put their hands in their coat pockets or in their pants pocket, but if their hands are moving freely, they're not carrying a firearm. So be vigilant for stuff like that. They said with the global war on terror, if you see something, say something. So that's something you've got to think about something that just seems out of place or seems strange. Actually, today, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine sent me a picture of a hand grenade that was found in the yard, and that's not real. That's not real. And they said, no, it was real. God only knows how long it was there. So, that was kind of a weird thing. But yeah, it was an actual live, real hand grenade in the yard between the two neighbors' houses. So, when you sit in a restaurant, make sure you know your exit. Well, anywhere besides just restaurant, you know your exits. Don't be creepy, but watch for people's hands, watch for their mannerisms. People that shoot up schools don't come in and act, normal. They don't come in, oh, hey, how you doing? And then pull a gun and shoot everything. They've got an objective on their mind, and so they're acting funny. And any kind of shooting, you can always you always hear the people's stories. Well, he just acted funny or he acted shady, something like that. But my take on all this is basically, I've got a 42-second video on it, and then I'll talk to you about my take on it.
Have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with this stupid open border. But we know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them, I think.
Is it dozens?
They came in through the open border policies of Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst president in the history of our country. And we've got our eyes on all of them. But the war itself is being prosecuted at a level that nobody's seen before. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Now, we've talked about before, Trump's going to Trump. And that video was trumping. He was asking a pretty serious question about sleeper cells, how many, where they're at, yada, yada. And Trump took that opportunity to basically bash Joe Biden. We don't need to bash Joe. And this is where me and Donald Trump separate a little. We had ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, terrorizing. Please forgive me. They weren't terrorizing. They were doing their job. But going into cities, pulling out illegals, if they know where these sleeper cells are, why isn't ICE, the FBI, Homeland Security, everything, kicking these people's doors down and kicking them out? That's where Trump and I are just not agreeing here. He says they know all about it. Cool. Get your asses to where they are. Get them in custody. Get them out of here. Let's make us safe, because it's already happened. She said 4 times in 2 weeks. How many more times is it going to happen before these people get hunted down by ICE and DHS? I appreciate the job that ICE did getting illegals out. That's what Donald Trump campaigned on, and I fully support him. But he's just wanting to sit there and bash Sleepy Joe Biden when these people are still out there. We know where they're all at, I think. If that doesn't put the fear of God in you, I think that's not a for sure answer. I want a for sure answer. I've got a for sure president. I want a for sure answer. So that's my take on it. Is if they know where everything's at, where these sleeper cells are, then why aren't they being systematically hunted down and brought into custody? Why are we not safe?
And a lot of loud noise when they capture them and arrest them. And
oh yeah,
we're out here, and if you're a sleeper cell, we'll hunt you down, and if you don't surrender, we'll kill you. The sleeper cells are just as bad as the ones that are in Iran, part of the regime.
Yeah.
They've been sent out by the regime. Yeah, they've been sent out by the regime, and the part where they're worse is they pretend like they're a good neighbor to you, and then we see they're not a good neighbor. And I think one of the big things is that we should feel this guy I'm going to play, which you'll wonder why I say, he seems to take a tougher stance. The lady we played earlier take a tougher stance than I want to feel comfortable where I live and when I go somewhere. And well, just listen.
I'm not willing to die because you people are scared of getting called racist. Now walk with me. So today, an ISIS roach shot up a university and a maniac drove into and then shot a synagogue on top of the list of terrorist attacks just in the last week. But I'm another phobic because I see who is always at the scene of the crime. Then some of you are claiming these attacks are false flags. When you hear death to America, what about that is false when you're seeing death in America? Oh, you missed the Twin Towers? Then maybe you should question why Mom Donnie is barefoot, eating on the floor with unwashed hands on paper plates for a holiday to celebrate teachings from a book that calls for the death of non-Muslims over 100 times, all while a man is throwing up the ISIS finger. Oh, and this wench right here with her hair out, say goodbye to those Western privileges, sis. It's time to put on the bed sheet. Europe is a mess, the Middle East is literally exploding, and yet y'all are opening the door for Antifada. We are so eternally doomed if you people don't wake up.
Now, as I said, not the manliest of men, but boy, he's spot on.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I was going to say, and I completely forgot about it. But I don't know if Donald Trump's too scared of this, but I know everybody else is. From seeing something, saying something, because you're automatically going to be labeled as some ist or a phobe. Because that's what the left. That's the only card the left has to play, is you're automatically some sort of ist, racist, anything or phobe. You're automatically a phobe. And that's why people are afraid to even open their mouths and say anything. And it's costing us our security. It's costing us our safety.
There,
awesome.
You can share that comment.
I shared it. Very nice. Love it.
But honestly, I've seen him in other videos, and he's always spot on. And it doesn't even bother me to be called a phobe or racist or any of those things, because, as you said, that's just what the left does, especially when they don't have anything. If they've got something else to throw at you, they'll throw it at you. And then when you win the argument or they're proven wrong, then comes the racist and the phobes.
Yep, you're automatically racist. You're a homophobe or an Islamophobe or something like that.
Really, we should just take
a lot of people.
A
lot of people are terrified of that.
Well, we should just take that as throwing their hands up and saying, "You win."
Yeah.
You win. I'm going to make you look bad when you're winning, but you won.
Yeah. That's the left's typical go-to. I so tired of it. But like I said earlier, this is one thing where Donald Trump and I are not in complete and total agreement on. He campaigned on getting illegals out, and he campaigned on making America great again. And for me, hunting down these sleeper cells and getting them out or locking them and their self-righteous behinds up would make America great again and safe again. And that's what I look forward to.
You led me right into this next video when you say campaigned on. Some of these are campaign things. I know one at least is during the State of the Union address, but let's listen to several different presidents when it comes to talking about Iran.
To know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them.
So that was an acceptable policy and agenda to run on when it was her.
I can say to you, Iran will never get a nuclear weapon on my watch, as they say.
And it was fine and dandy when he said it.
Announcing my intention to cut off all trade and investment with Iran.
And when he said it, it was totally acceptable.
Our second goal is to prevent regimes that sponsor terror from threatening America or our friends and allies with weapons of mass destruction. Iran aggressively pursues these weapons and exports terror, while an unelected few repress the Iranian people's hope for freedom.
And if my memory serves me correct, we were all gung-ho when he said it.
Strongly believe that our national security interests now depends upon preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
And of course, everything he says is gospel, right? However,
Terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon.
exact same message, exact same policy, different person. Make that make sense. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about what's right or wrong for you or me. It's about what isn't Donald Trump. Even if it is what they once stood for, they will now backtrack on that just to be anti-Trump. These people can't be trusted. Watch them close and go have the day you deserve.
Yeah.
Well, there were 5 presidents and 1 presidential candidate in there that basically all said the same thing word for word. I mean, the harshest talking one was Hillary. She used the word obliterate, I believe is what she said. And I really don't believe Bush may have had the guts to do something, may have, but I certainly don't believe Clinton, Obama, or Biden had the guts. They all had better opportunities. And of course, we know that when it was Obama and Biden together, they just decided to go stack up a few $1 billion in an airport hangar.
Yep. Send it to him on a pallet.
And so, I mean, how many times? There's no way to even count how many times you and I have talked about things that are good for them but aren't good for us.
Oh yeah, rules for thee, but not for me.
And this one is even perfect. This one is even perfect. And Susan makes a good point there when she says about the killing of the people in the streets. How can the left right now have been so upset about what happened in Minneapolis and then turn around and 60,000 or whatever the number is, I don't know that we'll ever know the number, people in,
I hear it.
Me too, that's why I say, but not be upset about that.
Yeah.
They're never consistent because of Orange Man being bad. But, you know, that's the case. But I think we can look back to George W. Bush, the one we just seen here in that video. Some of the really bad stuff started with him. And you know, obviously he had unfortunate things that happened in the world when he was president. And I'm going to tell you, even though we can look back and see things that he for sure could have done a whole lot better, he was a great commander-in-chief on September the 11th, 2001, and the days and weeks after that. Just like Rudy was a great mayor in New York City when that happened. And from that point until where we are today with Trump, we didn't have that kind of leadership where you felt confident. When George Bush stood in the rubble and he put his arm around that old firefighter and said, "We hear them, but soon they're going to hear from us." And I get cold chills when I think about that, because, yeah, would you have think about if Joe Biden would have been president on September the 11th, 2001.
Oh my gosh, Joe Biden is president in 2001. So people were already complaining about George Bush's response on 9/11. At the moment when the news came to him that the World Trade Center had been hit by the first plane, he was in a classroom in Florida, I believe, reading books to students, and he just kind of sat there. He was almost dumbfounded. When the second plane hit, they came back and said the nation's under attack, and he still just kind of sat there. He didn't jump up, and I don't know what the left was wanting. There was a movie by Michael Moore, Fahrenheit 9/11, and I don't understand what they were wanting. Were they wanting him to jump up and rip off his shirts and say, "No, let the bullets hit me first"? But the left was really upset about that response. Now, Joe Biden's response, fortunately, if it would have happened on his time, it was in the morning, so he wasn't experiencing sundowners, or he wasn't asleep and having his pudding cup at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine Joe Biden being the commander in chief. I just think the good Lord above every day that we didn't have any major conflicts those 4 years, because America was already a joke. We already looked weak. I don't see how things get worse.
He campaigned from his basement.
Yeah. And when during COVID, when Donald Trump was filling stadiums, he had 8 people at his rallies. He would do a video call with some news celebrity every, rarity. But, I couldn't imagine. Like I said, at least we didn't have any major events, world altering, earth shaking events.
Well, let me throw it over to you, and you take the lead here for a minute.
All right. Well, so my first story, and it's one that's not being covered much, and I kind of get it. Retired United States Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland has been missing for weeks. The 2-star general with decades of access to classified defense programs disappeared from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and nobody's really talking about it. The story gets more interesting the deeper you look, because Major General McCasland was not just another retired officer enjoying a quiet life. He spent his career inside some of the most secretive research programs in the U.S. Air Force. He was the commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the organization responsible for developing cutting-edge military technology, space systems, advanced weapons, experimental propulsion, and highly classified aerospace programs. And before that, he worked out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. I've been there. It's a really cool place. Now, if that name rings a bell, here's the reason. For decades, Wright-Patterson has been the center of UFO lore in America, along with Area 51 and the 1947 Roswell incident. Rumors have circulated that wreckage from an unidentified craft and possibly even non-human technology were transported to Wright-Patterson for analysis. The base was also home to Project Blue Book, the official Air Force investigation into UFO sightings, and ran for nearly 20 years. And if you believe those stories or not, here's fact. If there was ever a place where advanced weapon, aerospace mysteries, weapons, stuff like that would be studied, it would be at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, fast forward to today, Major General McCasland, a man deeply connected to the Air Force research and advanced aerospace technology, just suddenly disappeared. Didn't take his phone, has no contact, no explanation, and authorities are saying he just walked away from his home and vanished. There's zero confirmed evidence now that his disappearance has anything to do with UFO programs or top secret technology. But, I mean, come on, doesn't it make you think? Doesn't it make you wonder a little bit? So
maybe he needs to change his name. Maybe he needs to have a relative that works at NBC or something.
Yeah. But I've got a little video on it.
Major General William Neal McCasland left his New Mexico home on February 27th and has not been in contact with family or friends since, which the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says is unlike him. Holding a series of high-level and sensitive posts during his career, the 68-year-old McCasland once commanded an Air Force research lab associated with UFO lore. The Sheriff's Office says it has been working with the FBI and other agencies. The Sheriff's Office also issued a silver alert for an unspecified medical issue, adding urgency to the search. CNN has reached out to the Air Force and McCasland's family for comment.
Crazy story. Crazy story. Do you remember back in the 80s and 90s, the show Unsolved Mysteries?
Yes.
That'd be one of the stories on there.
That would be perfect for Unsolved Mysteries, except it's not old enough, probably. Something beeped in my ear.
Oh, wasn't me, I don't think.
How long's he been missing, Ronnie?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm not followed the story closely like that, but I was aware that he was missing and no explanation.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Yeah, it's just a weird story. This guy just walked out and disappeared, and perfect case for Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack, or when they came back out, it was Dennis Farina, and they both since passed away. But yeah, strange story. Oh, Susan here says February 27th, and the attack on Iran started on February 28th. That's strange.
Adds to the mystery.
Right.
What's next?
Let's see here. This is a weird story too. This cabinet official was giving an interview and got called away, and came back. He got called away to an emergency briefing, and he come back and he's extremely visibly shaken.
Sorry, the president wants you right away.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem at all. See you shortly, Mr. Secretary.
You can work that in.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure a last as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he stressed?
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule, and I have to tell you, Wolf, that I've a teenager who's considering military service, and I could give this team my highest compliment, from President Trump to the head of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of War. I would say that I would trust my child's life in their hands.
Now you can tell he's visibly shaken about something, and again, the conspiracy theories ran wild with that story. Immediately, just like any other conflict, everybody brings up the draft, and that was one of the things everybody's freaking out about. Is he got called away, and that was immediately brought up because when he came back, he started talking about his kid joining the military, and everybody freaking out because there's a draft, and I've seen countless videos and news stories. Oh, these people are cooked. You're going to go to war, and come on. I mean, when's the last time they had a draft? Vietnam War?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they would do it. They would call in the cabinet from whatever they were doing and have an emergency cabinet meeting in the Situation Room.
And talk about a draft when there has not even been boots on the ground in Iran.
Yeah,
It's
but
all been air
that was
and water.
That was going to be my, you have to have a draft when you start running low on troops, and you need to. I mean, why do we?
11 deaths, and one of them was an air tanker that crashed. There's not been boots on the ground. There's not been a bullet fired from a gun. It's all been missiles, drones, planes, bombers, stuff like that. So I don't get why people get been out of shape like this and start freaking out.
Because it's the left and the way they do everything. That couldn't have been farther from the truth had it been somebody saying that you can get very, very close to the sun and not burn up. Okay. It couldn't be farther from the truth. I hate when they make me speechless like this.
Yeah. That's. I mean, when we went to Iran to get the nuclear weapons out, the enriched uranium, back in July of last year, that was the first thing everybody. Oh, we're going to be drafted. what 6 planes flew over there and back again. Not one person got off a ship or off a helicopter on Iranian soil. But there's going to be a draft, and all these people do this is clickbait and fear mongering, and it's.
Well, speaking of that,
please don't trust everything you hear online.
I'm so sick of the way things work in social media that way. Clickbait. I've been shadow banned so much from Facebook that it's pathetic. I post the video that we played at the beginning of the lady who's talking about 4 different terrorist attacks, and I posted that on my personal Facebook, which I don't do that a whole lot. Most of my personal Facebook is family, it's church, it's those kind of things, fun things. But I posted that last night. It's been up almost 24 hours. Now, most of my friends, I think I'm somewhere about 4,300 followers on Facebook. Most of my friends there think pretty close to the same way I do. You know, we're not we're not magabots or anything like that, but we think pretty close to the same. And out of 4,300, you would think one might like that video, or maybe even one would comment on that video, and it's got big zeros on both. How does that even work? I could post something really, really stupid, and it would get all kind of likes.
I actually got a 1-week sentence from Facebook because I posted something about the devil whispered to me, "You can't handle the storm," and I whispered back, "I am the storm," and I got a 7-day suspension for that. Yeah, I don't get off Facebook much anymore. It's so stupid. You got something to say, Spunk?
You're next.
All right. Hop down, dummy. Let's see here. Have you heard about Ted Cruz?
Hold on. You didn't have to call me a dummy.
No, I'm talking about this one who won't stop jumping up here. Come on. Go play. So Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson are kind of going at each other. Now, I know Tucker Carlson had Ted Cruz on a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, talking about Iran, and Ted Cruz really was kind of talking out his rear end and didn't have a whole lot of information on Iran. But this is Cruz kind of firing back.
I believe Tucker Carlson is the single most dangerous demagogue in this country. And I'll tell you, I've made the decision that I'm going to take him on head directly. If you look at the dissent of Tucker Carlson, and they're all the sort of lesser chattering voices that are moons circling his twisted planet. But if you look at the dissent, it started about 1.5 years ago with platforming crackpot professors seeking to rewrite history about World War II. So he has one idiot whom he describes as the most consequential popular historian in the country, who leans forward and intones that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II. He then finds another crackpot professor who says there's a good argument that America should have sided with the Nazis in Germany in World War II. And for all...
I'm going to stop that there because he goes on. Now, I have not heard anything from Tucker Carlson about saying that we should have sided with the Nazis. But as I was talking about earlier about my TikTok feed, if he would have said that, he wouldn't have been the only one. It's kind of strange though. But yeah. So Tucker was hammering Ted Cruz about his foreign policy, questioning about endless wars and a lot of other uncomfortable questions about why American politicians seem so eager to involve us. That is one thing that Tucker's against. He's against this whole conflict in Iran and very against America being the world's police, which I kind of agree with. Cruz blasted Carlson, calling him one of the most dangerous voices in the country and accusing him of pushing anti-American narratives, strong words, the kinds of words you usually hear aimed at the left, not at another conservative. This isn't just a fight between two guys with microphones. It's a fight about the conservative movement actually stands for now. Now, Tucker was always a fan of Trump. When he had his show, he always pushed Donald Trump. I've showed videos on here recently where he's been to the White House, and he's allowed to have his own opinions and disagree with Trump, just like I am, but he's really disagreeing with Donald Trump on this. And him and Ted Cruz, it's getting to be ugly. It's getting to be ugly. Nope, you're on mute. There you go.
What Cruz didn't say, but inferred, is that it has to do with Israel. He said World War II. Obviously, that is implied there, but to me that's why Tucker is so against the Iran conflict. I think it's more so that Israel is involved than it is that we're being the world's police. I somewhat agree, like you do, that we don't need to, and we shouldn't go around in every conflict and be the world police. But there are some times where if it's not us, then who? Nobody else was capable of doing what us and the IDF is doing in Iran right now. Nobody, well, China might be, Russia, had they not been in this stupid war for 4 years, might have been, but they're both on the side of Iran. I don't think any of our allies in Europe.
Oh, no. I mean, Germany's economy is garbage. France never sticks their head into anything. Maybe Susan can fill us in on the UK, but
they wouldn't
do anything.
They wouldn't do anything.
So, yeah, I get that. If not us, then who? But Tucker is very anti-Israel. He's not, so far as being an anti-Semite, but he questions more of, the Jews than what normal people do. When Israel gave all those detonating pagers and radios and everything, they gave Donald Trump a golden pager, and it kind of makes you question: is it going to go off too? But Israel's been an ally of ours forever, and it's just he doesn't just blindly fall in line and okay, Israel's right and everything. The Jews are doing everything right. He questions, which automatically makes him sort of ist or a phobe. He's automatically racist, and he's it's just ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on Tucker. If he's not anti-Semite, he is very darn close.
Yeah. I think he's. I mean, he's not like, Aryan.
Well, he's not like this. Yeah, he's not like a skinhead. That's what I was going to say. He's not like a skinhead. He's a sophisticated anti-Semite.
Yeah.
I will agree that he's not quite there, but boy, he sure is close. He sure is close. Let's talk for a second about the intelligence of Senate Democrats.
Well, that's an oxymoron right there. Intelligence? Those are two words that don't belong in the same sentence. Unless you're saying lack of intelligence in Senate Democrats.
Well, that's kind of why I said let's talk about it here. There's a couple of things that happened recently and continue to happen that I believe that everybody that supports the Democrats should be calling the Senate Democrats out on, and one is that we are still not funded DHS, and the stupidest part of that is the reason that they don't want to fund DHS is ICE. And we've said this since before the shutdown happened. ICE was going to be funded no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what, ICE had already had their funding from the big, beautiful bill several months ago. But what's happening is we've got TSA agents. Now, when you're at war, security ought to go which direction? Up and not down. TSA agents aren't getting paid. Now,
yeah,
I'm sure that most of them are true professionals and do their jobs whether they're getting paid or not getting paid. But you can't make me believe that they're on top of their game like they would be if they were getting their paychecks.
No.
So that's just, I think they've recessed twice already during this government shutdown. And the stupidest thing is, if we was talking about taking food stamps away from somebody, the whole country would be up in arms.
Oh, well, it already was. It already was. Before when the shutdown happened and people lost food stamps.
So, I mean, we don't fly. Your mom don't fly. I love to fly. But they're saying that there are airports, and I don't know if it's just the busy airports, but sometimes people are having to wait 2 and 3 hours to get through TSA checks. And then the other one, obviously, is the SAVE Act. And,
The Common Sense SAVE Act and why this is such an issue makes no sense.
It's not just Democrats on this one. There are a handful of Republicans that need their tails kicked. The whole filibuster thing has always bothered me. And in our form of government, 51% should win. And it doesn't in the Senate. And I firmly believe that is wrong. If people don't know the Constitution, that is not constitutional that you have to have 60 votes to win in the Senate. That is a Senate rule that when Biden was president, the Democrats wanted the filibuster removed. Especially
That's always been a goal. When it's being used against the Democrats, they always want to get rid of the filibuster. When the Democrats can use it against the Republicans, then it's fine.
So then you add into the fact that the filibuster isn't even done the way a filibuster is supposed to be. They just have unofficial votes, basically. The Democrats leaders poll their people, the Republican leaders poll their people. How are you going to vote when this goes out? Well, we don't have the votes. Okay, you don't have the votes. In a filibuster, they're supposed to actually go out and debate on the floor and talk as long as they want. And then the only way to break the filibuster is 60 votes to break the filibuster. And so they've hijacked that into it being, it takes 60 votes to pass something in the Senate. And that's not what our Constitution says. That's not how things were set up. It's just rule that had come in, and I'd have to research to see when they put that in. But when they can hijack a common sense that you have to be an American to vote, you have to have an ID to vote, but maybe you can help me with this. From our side of this, why do we think that it will pass this time? Because we've had this question for years and years and years. How do illegals get to vote? So why do we think it's this time? Because we have both the House, Senate, and presidency?
Oh yeah.
Is that that you think that's why?
Oh yeah.
Because realistically, with the filibuster, unless there were 60 Republicans, we're not going to get them to break that filibuster. We're just not.
No.
And then you got,
and unfortunately, that's the way our government works, and it's so sickening. It has to be that way.
you know, that's one hill that I think we should die on. It is who gets to vote in our elections.
Yeah.
I wonder if other countries have that problem.
No, because other countries use common sense and realize that when people are not supposed to be here, then they don't allow it. But bleeding heart liberals think that they can win with illegal immigrants' votes. And if illegals came across the border and ran to vote for Donald Trump, that SAVE Act would have already been signed years ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely would have.
Yeah. So, I
well, Caroline Leavitt had something to say about the topics we bid on just now. Let's listen to her. We haven't heard from Caroline lately.
We have not.
Little Miss Prego. Let's listen to her.
And then just one more question about DHS. The funding issue has been 3+ weeks now. I was at the airport this morning in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was early in the morning, and one of the TSA agents, I saw she was kind of tearing up, she was crying, and I asked her, I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I can't make my phone payment, I can barely make my car payment that's coming up. I think a lot in the Beltway, there's so much noise between Democrats, Republicans. It's the Democrats' fault, it's the Republicans' fault. But what is the White House's message to the American people that are struggling because they're not getting that paycheck? It's take away the politics. What do you have to say to those people?
President Trump wants the Department of Homeland Security. He wants TSA, he wants FEMA, he wants the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard to receive their paychecks, and he wants this department to be fully funded and fully reopened. And so to any American out there who is struggling without a paycheck, we know there's more than 100,000 of you across the country. To any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times and lines, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering as a result of these partisan games that are being played by Democrats on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
She's right.
One of the problems we have in America is we misplace blame on things. A lot of it's TDS, but
a lot of it's TDS.
There is nobody that you can blame for the shutdown on that other than the Democrats. There, nobody. And I don't know what they think that they're going to get in the end, but I think maybe when the government gets shut down like that, then I think maybe their security details ought to go away. I think a lot of stuff should, when they don't pay people who are working and their lives haven't changed a bit, there's something wrong with that. There's just something wrong with that.
For sure. Let's see here.
Look at the question. I'll let you take this question.
Why did Dems fight so hard against Trump? He can't run again, so they're just running our people. I actually saw a video earlier. It was Chris Christie, and he was talking about Donald Trump is committing professional suicide. And he thinks it's dumb because the Democrats are basically assisting with Donald Trump's political suicide. You're right. He can't run again. We were talking about this, Cody and I, the other day. Is it possible for him to have a third term? Yeah, he could do it. J.D. Vance could win, nominate him as the vice president, and then drop out, and then Donald Trump would have a third term as president. But you know, I don't know. I don't know why the Dems have to fight so stinking hard. I mean, you know, you guys lost. Get over it. You know, we said it the very first day we did Red, White, and True. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. And I decided to take that. And when Mamdani got elected in New York, give him a chance. And, you know, it's not going to take long before he committed suicide there. And he committed political suicide. I mean, you know, so, you know, just give Donald Trump a chance. And why they hate him so much, it's just, that's just the way they are. You know, when Joe Biden won, he stood up at his inauguration day and said that he was going to be the uniter in chief. He was going to unite both sides. Did he do any of that? Or did he push both sides apart? Push the red and the blue completely against each other, even more. It's exactly what happened. And we were talking about 9/11, and I missed that. I missed that because I was a senior in high school, and I remembered, you know, on 12/11, we all woke up and we weren't red or blue. We were Americans, all of us. And it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter who you voted for in the last election. What mattered was we were Americans. And I miss that.
Yeah. I mean, go back to 79 when they were campaigning for the 1980 election. 79 and 80 would have been the campaign trail. Yep. And until Joe Biden, obviously, Jimmy Carter was the worst president of my lifetime. Many people say in the history of the country. And Reagan was an amazing campaigner. I mean, he was an actor. He could remember his lines, and at least until he got Alzheimer's. And that's one of the things that being a huge Ronald Reagan fan, I have to take and you know, he did get Alzheimer's late on, and he probably should have had somebody step in at least the last year of his presidency. But even Reagan would make jokes about Democrats, and they didn't have Reagan derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't like the jokes. They hated him because he was so good at what he did. They hated him because he was powerful, and when he said something, he meant it. But I'm going to almost guarantee that if this situation with the DHS not being funded, had that been a similar situation back when Reagan was president, they wouldn't have said, we're going to shut the government down just because we hate Reagan.
Yeah. It's just more division. It's I don't know. And you would have thought that COVID could have brought Americans together, the right and the left. It didn't. It just pushed us farther apart.
Well, that one just
Yeah.
that was like the Red Sea. It parted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
And you can remember during COVID how many people you would hear say, "How can a pandemic be political?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's where we are in America. Something.
I mean, everything breaks down to being political. I mean, you can't have a school shooting without it being some sort of political. You know, you can't have anything happen that's not red versus blue or blue versus red. It's you can't have a discussion almost. I mean, come on, late night show hosts used to joke about stuff going on, or they used to be funny. Now it's all automatically Orange Man bad. It doesn't matter what happened. It's all Orange Man bad. The Trump derangement syndrome is it's getting to be too much, too much.
Well,
and it makes people on the right hate the left and the left hate the right even more. And that's not what that's not what the world needs. The world doesn't need Americans to hate each other.
No, the world, being Christians, and people can say whatever they want. This is not a Christian nation. Shut up, Barack Hussein Obama. You don't know anything about anything. But being Christians, we should have the desire to be able to lead others. We have the power to do that. And so the world needs a strong United States. They just do. When our economy is thriving and doing wonderful, the world's economy is doing good. Now, but there's going to be places where it's not. There's going to be places that their economy is never going to be good in our lifetime. If God holds off on sending Jesus, maybe someday they'll have a decent economy. But, people say I get frustrated. We need a good, strong America and the rest of the world, whether they admit it or not. And it doesn't matter if they admit it or not. It's just like some of the things your mom and I talked about today. Our head on a swivel. Well, some people would say, well, you're being racist and you're racial profiling. I don't care. I don't care. I want to do the right thing, and right thing. And what else you got for us?
Oh, let's see here. So we talked about gas prices that have been going up. This is Donald Trump talking about how he's going to help bring them back down.
The relationship is extraordinary with Venezuela. We've taken out 100 million barrels of oil. It's right now in Houston being taken care of and made so beautiful. It's being refined in Houston, which is made exactly for that product. But it's 100 million barrels of oil, and now they have another 100 million barrels coming. It's like a partnership. We're getting along so well with them. It's great for Venezuela, and it's great for the United States.
That right there, it's good for everybody, which how can you argue with that? But Democrats already have been.
That's a perfect follow-up to what we were just talking about. Perfect follow-up.
Yep. I don't know. I got nothing else of substance except for this video right here. And I did change the last video I had. It was a funny song about nuclear bombs and what's in it and how it works. It's actually pretty catchy, but we'll save that for another day. I changed it to a promotional video that was put out, just sitting here thinking, bringing everybody together and stop dividing everybody. And it's a really cool promotional video, except it's got Donald Trump in it. So of course the left will hate it. But the only other thing I've got is this guy right here.
So I'll close with scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen. God bless our troops and this mission.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
I love Pete Hegseth.
Leadership right
Pete Hegseth. Yep. Well, folks, thank you for being with us tonight. Crowd was a little more than what it normally is, but not a lot of talk. Some people, I think, just wanted to, they missed us, Ronnie, I think is the deal. They wanted to listen to us. They wanted to listen to us tonight. Yeah. And so
skip a day and
we will be back. Yep, we'll be back on Monday, Lord willing, and sooner if something comes up between now and Monday night. If anything breaks loose in the war in Iran, we will definitely come in with that. The daily briefing was kind of a short-lived thing, and sometimes you think something is going to be the right thing to do, and not that it was the wrong thing to do, but the need wasn't there like I thought it was going to be.
Doesn't mean it can't come back.
Absolutely.
Just, at the time, we needed more time to get information out, and it worked just fine. So, yeah, it doesn't mean it can't come back. Don't mean anything really. So.
Well, Mary, thank you for your comments. Yes. She said, "Yes, we missed you guys." Thank you, Susan, for being a faithful follower at this point.
Yes.
God bless you to you all. And well, how about this? Until we see you guys again, go out and do the right thing.
On the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command commences Operation Epic Fury.
I'm gonna shoot you right down.
This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces.
He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah.
Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. This is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon.
Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for a generation.